Alright, so what started out as a devastating night in football continue, as Jamaica players got in an altercation with the cops, and totally understand their frustration. While this video is not that clear for we to know what really went down, but I totally understand the frustration of the players not being able to go to World Cup automatically. But as I said before, there's a second chance, the playoffs, and I hopefully we can make it to the World Cup after going through the playoffs. But what really traumatizing Jamaicans right now is the performance of Steve McLaren. You know, a lot of people has been doubting his methods, like a lot of coaches, Jamaican coaches, especially Craig Butler. And the thing I cannot get with Steve McLaren is how can you bench players that you are complimenting and say, oh, these players are good players, these players are some of the best players in their position, but yet still you're not starting them. How can you have players on the bench that are making the biggest impact on the field coming on at 78 minutes? How does that make sense? How can you have the players that are literally from Jamaica, born playing Jamaica, playing for Jamaica clubs like Tivoli Garden, Portmore United, and so forth, but yet they're not starting. You're starting players that is not used to the style of play of the Jamaica team. Because if you think about it, how can you literally just bring somebody to the squad, having trained for the team, having trained for the team for at least a week or a month or nothing, but yet still they go right into the squad and start? How does that make sense? That doesn't make any sense. Steve McLaren are basing the squad off experience. Steve McLaren are starting players, especially players that are in the bigger clubs like in the Championship, Premier League, and so forth. Yeah, they are getting start over players that have been playing for Jamaica for a long period of time and know how to play with other players, and those players are scoring. So how the fuck does that? How does that make sense? How does that make sense? And it's like the more he make, the more he's making that mistake, he continued to make those mistakes over and over and over again, over and over again. All right. So the funny thing about this, majority of the teams that made it to the Jamaica World Cup from the North America is Jamaica is way better than most of them. Jamaica is better than most of them. But the thing about football, sometimes the team is good, but the coach is not good. I think that was Jamaica's biggest downfall. Because Panama made it to the World Cup on 12 points, with Suriname behind of them on 9 points, Guatemala on 8 points, El Salvador on 3 points. Haiti has made it to the World Cup on 11 points, Honduras on 9, Costa Rica on 7 points. So you see what I'm talking about? Most of these teams that has made it to the World Cup, Jamaica is a better team than most of those teams. So you're telling me Jamaica could not qualify for the World Cup? Bro, this is very, 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 very embarrassing. Yeah, man, this is very embarrassing. Jamaica is Jamaica is one of the best team in North America. You understand? But yet we are not able to qualify for the World Cup automatically. We have to go to the playoff so that we can qualify for the World Cup. After we have been one of the best team to ever play in North America. And as I said before, I think it's a case where we have we have a good team, but I think the coach was the biggest problem with our setback in the national squad. To be honest, the coach was the biggest setback because most countries don't have the players that we have in terms of they don't have the talent that we have. Most countries, but yet still we have most of those talents, and we were not able to make it to the World Cup qualifiers. Make that make sense for me? Alright, so Jamaica is going to face in the semi-finals. Jamaica is going to have to face Bulgaria, New Caledonia, and Suriname, and the finals is Iraq and Congo. So I honestly don't know. I think it's going to be like another group stage, and they would have to play to get through that group, and then when they get through that group, they would have to play the finals to see who that qualifies. So basically, it's another up and down we have to go through to see if we're going to qualify for the World Cup. You know, when we could have qualified for the World Cup automatically if we would have won the group stage. But as I said before, the fight is not done. The fight is still on, and we're going to see how best Jamaica can make it through the qualifiers round and make it to the World Cup.